Welcome everyone. This is the day one of the Informatics and Practices for class 12, and we'll be taking Sumita Arora as the reference syllabus book. In this, the first unit one, the first unit is Python Pandas one. In this unit one, Informatics and Practices for class 12, we'll be learning introduction, followed by the topics using Pandas. Then we'll move on to Pandas data structures, then series data structures, followed by accessing a series object and its elements. Then we'll focus on operations on series objects. Then we'll move on to series objects with one-dimensional data structures and one-dimensional NumPy array. And we'll be start exploring data frame, data structure, and then we'll focus on creating and displaying data frame. And then we'll move on to data frame attributes, and we'll be learning data frame was series and two-dimensional NumPy array. And then we'll spend some time around selecting or accessing data. Then the 13th topic would be adding, modifying rows, columns, values, and data frames. And then we'll move towards deleting, renaming columns, rows. And finally, we'll be learning more on data frame indexing and Boolean indexing. So these are pretty much the topics that we'll be focused on unit 1. Okay, so we have 15 topics. We'll be covering one by one, and mostly we'll focus on the lab exercises. We'll be focusing on the hands-on exercise so that I think the students will be able to understand, and then they will be able to answer all the questions around all these topics. Okay, these are the outline. So we'll go to that section 1.1, that is an introduction. So let's talk about what is Pandas. Okay, so what is Pandas? So content Pandas is nothing but a Python library. Okay, so this library is built by another called Mechane, and this was built on top of NumPy array, NumPy array library. So this is mostly on Python. So how the name comes this comes from the word panel data system. That's on the name called Pandas. And it will be used for handling multi-dimensional and structured data. Okay, so basically, whenever somebody asks what is Pandas, you have to answer is the way this is nothing but a Python library. And so what is a library? So by the way, what's a library? So let's move on. So library is nothing but a collection of pre-written code written by some developers or programmers or others. And it has the different functions and classes that you can use in your own programs. You no need to write all the code again. So you can just import in your classes, in your program, and you can straight away use that. So this Python library is nothing but a library of code. So live is a collection of code. So when you look at when you heard about library, you will come to know library is nothing but a collection of books, right? Written by different authors. So if you go to a library in your school, you can see hundreds of books, right? Each books was written by some author. The same way, this library, you can analogous to that conventional library. So it's nothing but a collection of written code programs, a collection of programs written by somebody else. Okay. So why we are using library is we don't need to write everything from scratch. So it will save you time. Okay, and you can just use it in your programs as and when needed. Okay, and these libraries provide a wide range of functionalities. But you may need some part of it in your program. So you can refer it and you can use it. So this is nothing but the definition of Python library. To better make you understand, just think this as a collection of code written by some programmers. Yes. So now coming back to Pandas. So Pandas is nothing but a Python library. It's a collection of programs, Python programs. Okay, that is specifically focusing on data analysis. So data analysis, it will help us to analyze data, both single dimensional and multi-dimensional and structured data. So that's all about the introduction to Pythons. So and so coming to the application, it is widely used for data analysis, and it helps in evaluating big data sets using analytical tools and statistical tools. So it has this Pandas has many statistical tool and analytical tools. I mean, tool in the sense, it has the methods and functions that will help us to analyze the big data sets. Like, it may range from hundreds and thousands of rows and records. We should be able to analyze using this Pandas. And why we do this analysis? Just to make decision or business decision. So with raw data, if you don't analyze the data, we may not infer any information. So when we apply some analysis on top of that, we should be able to make the decision. Okay. So, and let's move on to the features of Pandas. So Pandas is free and open source and comes under BST license. It's built on top of Python, as I said earlier. And it offers a high performance data structures. It offers three kinds of data structures we will be covering in the coming classes. So it has series data structure, and it has DataFrame data structures, and it has panel data structure. So all that we'll be covering in the coming classes, and it's very easy to use for your data analysis. Okay, let's move on. So why Pandas? So Pandas has many advantages. If you read it from top to bottom, you will come to know the different advantages of Pandas towards other data analysis tool. So let's go one by one. Okay, first thing is the Pandas. So let's go one by one. So why Pandas? So Pandas is the most popular library. Okay, if you look at the Python ecosystem, Pandas is the most popular library, used by the scientific community. Okay, and it has many capability, including like it can read or write in many different data formats. So it supports multiple data types, as we see, integer, float, double, objects. So it supports multiple data formats or data types, and it can calculate in all possible ways data is organized. So it can process or analyze across rows, or it can also process down the different columns as well. Okay, and moreover, we can easily select subsets of data. Just consider like you have hundreds and thousands of records of rows, but you want to have a subset. Maybe subset is in the sense like you want to have only first 10,000 rows, and you want to do some analysis on that. So Python, this Python Pandas, right? It will really help you with that. Okay, and it has the functionality to find and fill the missing data as well. So that topics that we will cover that. It can use to clean up data and fill the missing data. So Python, this Pandas will really helpful on that. And also it allows you to apply operations to independent groups within the data. Even the data we can group. We can split the data into multiple groups, and you can apply different operations on top of that. So let's move on. Like it supports reshaping of data into different forms. So we can convert the data which we have, like I think hundreds of thousands of rows, we can reshape into different forms and perform the analysis. And Python, this Pandas also supports this advanced time series functionality. So we will see some example in this coming classes. Okay. And finally, it supports visualization by integrating matplotlib and seaborn libraries. So we have two more libraries for visualization, which we are going to use is matplotlib and seaborn libraries. These libraries will help you visualize the data. So these are pretty much the advantages of why we are using Pandas. Okay. So let's move on to section 1.3, that is Pandas data structures. So Pandas provides essentially three data structures, but we are going to focus only on these two data structures. So we will be extensively focusing on these two data structures. So Pandas data structures. So Pandas provides two basic data structures. The first data structure is series, which basically operates on one-dimensional data. And the second data structure which the Pandas offers is data frames, which will be essentially we can operate on two-dimensional data, which is having rows and columns. So these are the two data structures that Python Pandas supports, and we will be focusing mostly on these two data structures. Let's move on. So before we move on to the data structures that's offered by Pandas, we have to understand like what is a data structure. So what is a data structure? It's nothing but the way the data is organized and stored in the computer memory so that we can efficiently access and manipulate. That's what data structure is. So it essentially focuses on how the data is stored in memory and how you can access the data, and it will focus on like how and what operations you can perform on it and how efficiently those operations work. So this is nothing but the definition of data structure. So data structure is nothing but just think plainly is how the data is stored in memory and how we can access it and how and what are the operations we can perform on it and how efficiently we are and how efficiently the operations work. So this covers the definition of data structure. So Python, this Pandas offers two data structures, as I said earlier, series data structure and data frame data structure. So this is nothing but how this data is stored in memory. Okay, you're just thinking that way. How this series is going to store in database, stored in memory, and how this data frame data structure is going to be stored in the memory, and how we are going to access the data. Okay, series data structure, how we are going to access data frame data structure, how we are going to access, and what are the operations we are going to perform on series data structure and data frame data structure, and how efficiently is going to work. So that's defined by how the data structure. Okay. So let's move on. So what is Pandas series data structure? So Pandas series data structure operates on one-dimensional data structure. It's a one-dimensional data structure, and it stores homogeneous data. That means it stores the data of same data type. Okay, and it represents an indexed array of data. So it has an index and it has a value. And moreover, we can allow labeled indexing as well. Apart from the default index that has been that is offered by the series data structure, we can have our own way of labeling. So I'll go through all that the example. If you look at the left hand side, the first column is index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the second column value is what actual value we are storing 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. Okay. So now the index value is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, but you can label it as well. Okay. We can label your own using your own custom way. You can label, you can give a custom name. Yeah. So that is series. So series, somebody asks any questions on series data structure, you have to just keep in mind that it's a one-dimensional data structure and it's so homogeneous data, and it's nothing but it's represent index array of data, and you can do labeling. Yeah, that's pretty much on the series data structure. So let's move on to the data frame data structure. So what is the data frame data structure in Pandas? So it's a two-dimensional data structure, and moreover it stores heterogeneous data. I mean, we can store data that belongs to different data types. Okay, and it has two dimensions. As I said, it has a row and a column, and you can label them or you can give a custom index to that. So that is not the features of DataFrame. Okay. So now let's see some important key differences between the series as well as the DataFrame data structure. Let's first focus on the dimensions. We look at the dimension. Series data structure is one dimensional, and DataFrame data structure is two dimensional. And the type of data that series data structure can store is homogeneous. I mean, same data type. But the DataFrame data structure can store heterogeneous data. That means different types of data. That data can belongs to different data types. And regarding the mutability, so value or mutables in series data structure, we can change the value. But in case of DataFrame also, we can change the values. But if you look at in series data structure, the size is immutable. So once you create a series data structure, we cannot change the size. But what will happen internally is the existing series data structure will be destroyed and a new series data structure will be created once if you want to change the size. It will happen in the background. But in case of DataFrame data structure, the size are mutable. You can increase or decrease the size, size can be changed. You can add or remove new objects to that. So it is mutable. These are the key differences between the series plus DataFrame data structures. Let's move on. So how can you use the Python Pandas in your program? So to do that, we have to import the library. So that's what the syntax here. Import it will import the particular library, in this case Pandas, and it is giving a name. It's just an alias as PD. And similarly, NumPy is another Python library. We can import and give an alias name as NP. So you can use any identifier, but here the most common identifier or the name alias we used to give is like TD for Pandas and NP for NumPy. So this is the way you can import the Pandas and NumPy in your program. But before you import, you have to ensure that we have to install both Pandas and NumPy in your computers. Okay. Okay. Now we are going to deep dive into the series data structure one by one. So a series is a one-dimensional data structure of Pandas. As I said, it's represent an indexed array of data. So it has two main components: an array of the actual data and then an index. This index is nothing but an associated array of indexes, or we can call as labels. Both arrays have the same length. The index is used to access the data values. So as we know, we have two arrays. One is the actual array of data, and the other one is the associated array. So both will have the same length. And why are we using the index is basically to access the values that we have stored in the actual data array. So that is essentially this pretty much on the series data structure. So we are going to next we focus on how we are going to create the series of objects. How we can create this series data structure. So we have 10 exercises. Okay. Starting with first we will focus on the exercise and then I will come back to the theory so that the theory will be very easy. Okay. The first example is we have to create a series based on some sequence of numbers. So this is what we have to do. We are going to develop this program. Okay. We will not just learn it, but we are going to develop it. So I have developed that. If you look at here, hope my screen is visible. So we'll look at here the example one of the Sumita Arora books talks about we have to create a series using the sequence 4, 6, 8, and 10. Let me run this. You look at here, These are the values 4, 6, 8, and 10, and these are nothing but the index. We have not given any index, right? We have not given any index. We just gave the sequence, I mean the data. But if you don't pass the index, this pandas will by default give the index from 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. This is the first exercise. So we are going to do the exercise.